Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Shoot the Hoot Raw. I'm Chuck from CyberRoot, and today we're talking about our cybersecurity incident where the company lost $61,000. Where's my streaming guy? Where's my streaming man? Oh, there he is. Boom, there he is. Little off cue there. Anyway, this company lost $61,000, and somehow that turned out to be the cheap part of it. That is not the kind of sentence any business owner wants to hear. One believable email appeared to come from the owner. It referenced a deal the bookkeeper partially recognized. The payment went out, the money disappeared. And then the real invoice started showing up. Forensics, higher insurance premiums, weaker coverage, customer security reviews, lost business, and a great employee who nearly quit because she thought the whole thing was her fault. It wasn't. So today, we're not just talking about business and email compromise. We're talking about the blast radius, right? We'll break down the 5 different losses hiding behind one wire transfer, explain why the bookkeeper was not the failure, and show how to make moving money so boring that even the criminals lose interest. So, and later, we'll tackle the question every small business should be asking. Are we too small to be targeted, or are we exactly the size attackers want? So grab your coffee, lock down the payment process, and let's get into it. This is Shoot the Hoot Raw, unscripted, unfiltered, unapologetically cyber hoot, right? A lot of syllables in that word. All right, let's keep moving. Okay, let's start with the number everyone notices first, $61,000. That was the wire. Gone. Horrible, right? Painful, very real. But here's the twist. That may have been the cheapest part of the entire incident, because once the money left, the bills kept coming. First came the forensics bill, another $15,000 just to answer the question, how did this happen? Nothing says great week like paying someone 5 figures to learn exactly how bad your week was. Then came the insurance shock. The premium roughly doubled. Coverage got tighter. And social engineering received its own smaller limit. Absolutely horrible. All right. So after one incident, company was paying more for less protection. That's just a brutal combo. Then came the damage that is harder to put on a spreadsheet. Customer trust, right? 2 clients asked for proof of security controls before renewing. One of them walked away. Now, the attack was not just stealing cash. It was affecting future revenue. That one email reached all the way down into the sales pipeline and snatched people out of it. Horrible. And then came the part that matters most, in my opinion, the human damage. And this one, I'll be honest with you folks, when I heard it, man, it broke my heart. It said in the post, it said that the bookkeeper cried at her desk. I would hate to see one of my employees, coworkers, crying at their desk. She almost quit. She believed she had failed the company. But folks, she did not. She did not. Lady, you did not fail your company. She made one believable decision inside a process that gave her too much responsibility and not enough protection. Attackers designed the message to exploit trust, urgency, and authority. Hey, that's what they do. So the real loss was not one number. It was 5. It was the wire, the forensics, the insurance, the customer trust, and almost a great employee. The direct loss was simply the easiest number to calculate, right? But the real blast radius kept expanding long after that wire transfer was completed. So your flyaways from this slide. A cyber attack keeps billing you after the incident ends. And reputation and employee impact rarely appear on the initial loss report. So your Hoot rule to remember here, measure that whole blast radius, not only the stolen amount. Because the money may leave in seconds, but the consequences can stay for years to come. Okay, let's make one thing very clear. I'm going to say it 1,000 times. The bookkeeper was not the failure. The employee was not the failure. A good employee made one believable decision inside of what? A very weak process. That, my friends, is what matters. Because when something like this happens, the first instinct is often, how could she fall for that? Wrong question, wrong question. The better question is, why was one person able to move that much money without a second trusted check? Why? The email appeared to come from the owner. It referenced a deal she partially recognized. It sounded urgent. It felt familiar. And authority does something powerful to people, something very powerful. When the boss appears to ask for something, most employees immediately think, I need to get this done ASAP. They don't think, let me investigate whether this is an intentional crime, international crime certificate, syndicate, excuse me, right? So they don't know. So what they do, I need to get this job done, is the normal response. That is human. And that is exactly what the attacker counted on. The company relied too heavily on one employee's judgment in one high pressure moment. No second person, no trusted callback, no separate confirmation, just one believable request and one person trying to help. That, my friends, is not stupidity. That is a process with too much faith and not enough friction. And then came the shame. The bookkeeper cried at her desk. Hate to say it, hate to think about it, get out of my head. She nearly quit. Not because she was useless or careless, but because she thought she had let everyone down. And that is where companies can actually create a second loss. First the money, second the employee, right? So a good employee can be replaced. It's true, you can replace a good employee, but that experience, the loyalty, and the trust they carry with them cannot be rebuilt overnight, folks. It's an investment. So after an incident, do not ask who to be blamed. Ask what allowed one person to carry all the risk, right? Question the process. You need to build a process that expects urgency, it expects pressure, it expects authority, and yes, it also expects human error. Because a good control does not depend on someone being perfect. No, it helps good people make safer decisions. So your flyaways here, attackers will exploit trust, not stupidity, and shame creates silence. But coaching creates stronger reporting. So your Hoot rule to remember here fits the process without actually breaking the person. Because strong security does not punish people for being human. It builds a system that protects them when humans are under great pressure. So here's a cybersecurity goal nobody puts on the poster. Make moving money boring. No drama, no heroics, no, you don't need this in like 6 minutes. No, because urgent payments should trigger more verification, not fewer questions. So first, put in a two-person approval. No solo wires above a set threshold. Not because we do not trust people, but because one person should never have to carry the full weight of high-pressure financial decision. Think of it as a buddy system, right? But for not sending $61,000 to criminals. Second, trusted channel verification. If an email says, call me right away, do not call the number in the email. Use a number you already know. Call the owner, call the vendor, call somebody outside the message, because replying to the attacker to confirm the attacker is not really verification. That is just customer service for criminals, right? So third, payment change log. This is an important one. Any new bank account, routing number, or payment destination gets verified independently. Not once, every single time. Even when it looks familiar, even when it comes from a real email thread. Even when someone says, we do this all the time. And trust me, that sentence should make you slower, not faster. And finally, the thing I love, pause. But at this time, we're pausing authority. Pause authority. Employees need permission to delay a suspicious payment without getting punished for it. If leadership wants people to verify, leadership has to make verification safe. Because if the employee thinks, I'll get in trouble for slowing this down, the control, it's already broken. So these 4 controls are simple. 2 people, a known channel, a lock on payment changes, and permission to pause. Not flashy, hey, but neither is a seatbelt. We still want one of those things when things go sideways, right? So flyaways here. Payment controls must work even when leadership appears impatient. So a 30-second verification call can prevent months of damage. So Hoot rule to remember, no unusual payment moves until someone steps outside the message and verify it. Because when moving money is boring, boring is beautiful sometimes. So now that we've made moving money boring, right, let's move to something a little more exciting. What we've been building outside of ShootTheHoot this week. What have we been doing? It's time for our nerd update. But first, we'll jump to the but first a little early today. But first, be the first to email the wire 10 to ShootTheHoot@cyber.com and get 10% off your next invoice. Type it in, click send, and get that 10. And if you're not watching live, no worries. Email us anyway. Might just give you the 10% off. I'm a nice guy like that. The only catch is limited to 1 discount per month. All right, let's get into it. Boom. All right. There we go. Our nerd update. So Man, we've been busy. So it's time for that nerd update where we take that giant pile of things the developers did and we translate into what got better, what got smarter, what will save someone from yelling at the screen. So this release is really about three things: more visibility, more connection, less friction. So first up, Attackfish got a much better set of eyes. Partners can now see delivery and bounce status, connect activity back to the right campaign and user, and review the information and improved email logs. In plain English, what we did was we're moving from that email was sent to here's exactly what happened, which is a much healthier relationship with reality. We also added better monitoring for phishing simulation, sending domains, and smoother paths into Hootfish training and practice. So when somebody misses the fish, we do not just leave them standing there with the digital equivalent of a red buzzer. No. We help them learn from it. Next up, Slack and Microsoft Teams. This happened fast. So training notices and reminders can now show up where people are already working. That means fewer assignments disappearing into the inbox abyss, somewhere between the shipping notification, the benefits reminder, and the email marked urgent from 6 weeks ago. The dark web and OSINT tools also got a major boost. We added more scanning, typo-spotting, insight, enrichment, summaries, and clear views for customers and our partners. So instead of simply saying, we found something, we can do a better job of answering, what does it mean, who does it affect, and what should we do next? That is where data becomes useful. Also, reporting got easier too. Custom reports can now be exported to Excel. Report formats can be selected in settings, and we added a public domain security scan that can turn a quick check into a real security conversation. Because sometimes the best lead generator is showing someone the front door they forgot to lock. So on the user management side, duplicate users can be merged. People can be moved between tenants, and names are preserved more accurately. Small detail, absolutely, until you have like 3 versions of the same employee and nobody knows which one completed the training. Then it becomes a full-blown identity crisis. So we fixed that. And finally, we tightened the plumbing. We improved credential storage for secure platform integrations. Navigation is cleaner. Customer emails received a fresh design, and several annoying edge cases were fixed. Not flashy, hey, but neither is indoor plumbing, and we all noticed when that stops working. So, big takeaway this week: more signal, less noise, stronger platform, happier humans. That is the kind of nerd update we like. Now that we've covered what's new inside of ShootTheHoot, which is a lot, actually, that made me thirsty. Once we could identify that, let's open up the mic and tackle that question that every small business should be asking themselves. Are we too small to be a target, or exactly the size attackers want? Over to our Q&A. So let's out that question. Why would criminals come after us? We're only 34 people. Because 34 people can still move a lot of money. And in many smaller companies, the person who receives the request knows the owner, recognizes the deal, and can move the payment without 4 layers of approval. That is exactly what makes the target attractive. Not visible, attractive. So let's come to our first one. Why target a 34-person company? Because small businesses often have meaningful cash flow, but fewer controls, fewer security people, fewer approval steps, and a lot more information and a lot more informal communication. The owner texts, the bookkeeper knows the context, the request sounds believable. That is gold to an attacker. They don't need a Fortune 500 logo. They need one believable path to the money. All right, next. Would awareness training alone have prevented it? Maybe, I don't know, maybe. But I'd never want the entire defense resting on one employee having a perfect moment, remembering the training. Training helps people recognize pressure, urgency, and impersonation. But training without process, it's basically saying, please outsmart the criminal every single time, right? That is not a control. That is a wish. And that's not going to happen. The best answer is training plus payment safeguards and process. So which controls, our next question, which controls protect fastest? Twitter's wins are simple. 2-person approval, trusted channel verification, a lock on payment changes, and permission to pause. Permission to pause. Train to pause, love the pause, right? You do not need a 200-page policy. No one's going to read it. You need a short process people can actually follow when the request feels urgent, especially when it appears to come from leadership. Our last pre-canned question here for the episode is, how should leadership respond after an employee is deceived? So this is really, really important. First, protect the employee, protect the person. Do not turn them into the villain. The attacker designed the situation to look real. So coach the employee instead. Fix the process. Make reporting safe. Make it clear that stopping, asking, and delaying suspicious requests is part of the job. Because shame does not make people safer. It makes them quieter. So the core answer: small businesses are attractive because they often combine meaningful money, fewer approval layers, limited security staff, and informal communication. That combination does not make them too small to target. It makes them easier to reach. All right, no questions I see. So let's wrap this episode right up. Hide that question. Let's go. All right, so today's lesson is simple. The wire may be the first loss, but it is rarely the last. There is the money, the forensic bill, the insurance hit, the customer questions, and the human cost that nobody puts neatly into a spreadsheet. That is why this cannot be treated as somebody clicked the wrong thing. No, a good employee made one believable decision inside of a weak process. So what do? You fix the process, protect the person, make moving money boring, make it two-person approval, trusted channel verification, a lock on payment changes, and permission to pause when something feels off. Because a 30-second phone call can save months of damage. And small businesses, you are not invisible. You are attractive because you move real money with fewer layers between the request and the payment. So here's today's final rule. Measure the full radius blast, not just the stolen amount when you're considering, where should I change my process? Where should I have my training? And remember, no unusual payment moves until someone steps outside the message and verifies it. So this episode gave you something useful. Share with a fellow Al and IT pal or a small business owner who still thinks they are too small to be targeted. Every share helps us get practical cybersecurity lessons in front of more people before the next urgent payment request shows up. I'm Chuck from ShootTheHoot. It's been a joy sharing with you today. Until next time, I want you to laugh, I want you to learn, and I want you to hoot up. Hoot up!